Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast 396. Let's give a big Whitetail Rendezvous podcast hello to Ralph and Vicki Cianciarulo. Now, they've been on the Outdoor Channel for over 16 years with Archer's Choice and The Choice. And they're watching their son grow up in the business. The Choice is a lifestyle. And what they're going to talk about mostly about the show today, it's simply the lifestyle of hunting. And we're under attack. There's no question about it. They got some interesting insight that they're going to share with us. Also, they're going to share some really neat stories about hunting bear and hunting turkeys. So these folks are econs in the outdoor industry. They've been there, they've done it, and they want to help you understand what it takes to be successful in the outdoor world. So, Ralph and Vicki, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. And we got a treat today. Yes, this is a treat. This couple has been on for 16 years, Archer's Choice and The Choice on the Outdoor Channel. And I'm speaking about, pardon me, break. Okay, slow down. Start again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. And we got a great couple on. And this couple has been on Outdoor Channel for over 16 years with Archer's Choice and The Choice. And they're a couple that hopefully you watched their show or heard something about them or see them at shows. But Ralph and Vicki Cianciarulo are just awesome folks, and we're happy to have them on the show today. So welcome.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And listeners, here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something near and dear to Ralph and Vicki's heart, and that's promoting the lifestyle of hunting, the outdoor lifestyle. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. And also, we're going to talk about some favorite stories. And I just heard in the pre-show one about some turkeys down in Florida that it's quite interesting. And they're bear up in Canada. And then finally, we're going to talk about lessons learned, and they've hunted and fished and been a lot of places some of us will never get to. So they're going to share some of the experiences of as a whitetail hunter. What are some of the things you need to know? So without further ado, let's just jump into the lifestyle and promoting the lifestyle of the outdoors and our hunting tradition.
Well, sure. First off, we want to reach out to everybody and say, hey. And also thanks for supporting us all these years. We've been blessed to do what we do, and we don't take it for granted. And I mean, we're just simple people. We've been blessed to turn around. And when I first started filming in the mid '80s, never in my life did we imagine, that it would go to this.
Well, how could you imagine it going to like this? This is insane. Like you said, we've actually had 16 years already on the Outdoor Channel, and we're on year number 17 right now. And you know what? We've honestly just been very blessed to be able to do and to have this lifestyle that we love so much.
Why are we so challenged? Let's just jump right into the heart of the matter. And we're getting challenged from a lot of different areas. I've been fortunate to hunt whitetails for over 50 years and hunted, not as much as you guys, but, I've gone from all in Quebec and Hudson Bay all the way over to Alaska. So, I've squeezed a few hunts in, and, it just seems that every place we turn around, somebody doesn't want us to hunt anymore. Why is that?
Well, first off, I truly believe that we really have not done that great of a job in letting the general public know what we do. We're fortunate in doing what we do and what we've experienced, but I think why does it seem like it's worse? And I'll tell you why. It's because of the YouTube and some television shows. We are not portraying what hunting has meant to so many. It's just an ego trip, and they don't, the respect for the animal, the habitat, and the right from God to be able to do what we do has been lost. So when we continue in that type of self destruction, it's only going to get worse.
So how do we change that? What did you and I have, can do to do that? I know I have a podcast and I've got an audience, and you've got TV shows and you've got an audience, but sometimes it doesn't seem like we're reaching people. You just look at social media, and guys say Matthews is better. They get in the Ford and Chevy debate, or gee, how come you killed that small buck, or whatever. Why do we do that to ourselves?
Well, because we're our own worst enemy. I mean, it's real simple. It's just like, when I first started, I started with the recurve. You know what I mean? And then it went back to, it started going from recurves into the compounds. And we've seen the transition in from a lot of archers because of their age, because of their health, or injuries. A lot of them have picked up the crossbow. And then we have gun hunters, and we have the gun hunters that, good example. The reason we introduced the Choice Show years ago was because we had a phenomenal audience with Archer's Choice, and everybody knows us as bow hunters. I mean, if you cut our veins, you'd see it was all bow hunting. But we saw something, and when I say that is we saw the fighting and the influx within our own ranks. And Vicki and I said, you know what? Maybe we can help make a difference. So we introduced a new show, and it's called The Choice. Well, now the Choice is 12 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the choice was really simple. We don't care with what you hunt. If it's legal in your state, province, or country, just hunt. And that's, I mean, we have to look at that. See, social media, what I've personally witnessed, is keyboards give people gonads that never had them.
That's
a true story, though. I mean, that's a true
story. It is.
That's word.
It sounds kind of blunt, but it's very truthful. It is. They're not saying something face to face to someone. They're behind a keyboard, and they just go ahead and spew what they feel like spewing out there, and it's not good for anything.
No, and I mean, we how can we help make a difference? Well, as you're doing your podcast, as we do our show, as we do our public appearances, as we do anything, you try to give a more positive message. And, I mean, when you see something that bothers you on a hunting show, tell them, take the 5 seconds or 15 or 20 seconds or 30 seconds and voice your opinion, and voice your opinion to manufacturers too. I mean, there's stuff that we sit there, and I'll be honest with you, I want to throw a brick through the TV because you're like, oh, please don't, no. And the next thing you know, it's a bad thing. Listen, there's bad apples everywhere. If you go in any profession, any sports, whatever it is, there's bad apples. But what we do is we have to stop giving them the opportunity to have their voice. And the only way to do that is to, if these people are blatantly doing things wrong and it's strictly an ego trip, hey, tell the manufacturers, because once the money source is cut off, guess what? They don't have a voice.
Do you guys know Kevin Wilson up in Canada?
No, sir.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's a prolific writer north of the border and runs a great outfit for mature bucks up there. And he and I are working on a couple of different projects. We talked about the exact same thing this morning, and we talked about the trust factor, and we talked about how people are so full of themselves, they're all that in a bag of chips. And I hear that. He said, he was talking to some guys at SCI and so forth and so on, and they say, the people that are getting a lot of money, a lot of recognition, are the people that are hurting the sport the most. Your thoughts on that?
I don't want to sit here and join the bandwagon and slamming anybody out there.
Yeah, no names, but just it just seems that way. And so I would have you 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, that sometimes hype overrides substance, and that's where we're at in our industry right now. If someone's got a ton of people following them and they really don't have a lot of credibility, they still have the numbers. People will follow, and manufacturers will give them money and give them a voice. But the problem, or what we're going to find out, and we are starting to find it out, is substance, in other words, experience, true real life experience, not somebody that just started hunting, a few years ago, because it was in their family or because of a spouse or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just, we're going to find that people will gravitate to the people that they know and trust and have and truly believe in. Yeah, right now it's the other way around, but you know what? People are smart and they're getting smarter every day.
Yeah, I agree on that. One thing, how long, if I may ask, how long have you guys been married?
We're going
For
this.
like 70 years, I think.
70 years. Come on, you're not even 21 years old. Come on, Vicky.
Oh,
But
thank you for that.
but it feels like 70 years with him.
Yeah, probably.
No, we just in March we hit our 24th, so we're coming up on our 25th this coming year.
Well, congratulations. Kathy and I have been married. I'll be 47 years come June. And
Awesome.
God
it has
bless,
been,
that's
hey,
amazing.
wait a minute. It has not been easy on her. It was a piece of cake for me because she's an absolute saint. And she deserves all the accolades in the world for putting up with this cowboy. That's for sure. Oh, my goodness.
I can understand that. I mean, Ralph and I, we kind of reminisce as we're kind of like yin and yang. I mean, we're a great combination, and where one of us may not exceed so well, the other one kind of takes over, and it seems to work out pretty good for us.
Vicki, let's stay right there, and folks, yeah, we are going to get into tips and techniques and everything, but I think this is important because, Vicki, the groundswell of women in the outdoors, it's just unbelievable what's happened. A good friend of mine is Kirsty Pike, owner, CEO of Pros, and she started it in Gunnison, Colorado. She was a ER nurse. She was a trauma specialist nurse, and she got sick and tired of wearing her husband's, hand-me-down camo.
Yep.
And so that's how they started. I don't know if you know Kirsty and Steve Pike at all, but that's how she started like 8 years ago. And now she's kicking butt pretty good in that apparel business.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
so why is that? Why are women kicking the guys' butts right now? Simply said, they're doing a hell of a job, representing the sport, representing each other, and, they support each other.
Well, and I think for the longest time, I mean, we've been doing this for a while now, and I mean, when we first started, it was definitely a guy sport. There were women out there that hunted. I'm not taking that away from anyone by all means, but it wasn't known. There weren't people like promoting it like, hey, you guys could go out as a husband and a wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend. You can actually share the woods together. It doesn't have to be just the guys' weekend. And I think between television shows and just the way they're marketing, it's kind of started creating it so that the ladies that are watching the shows or reading them articles are going, well, wait a second, why are we sitting at home? Well, we could be outside loving the outdoors as well and hunting. And as that starts rolling around, then all of a sudden the manufacturers start realizing, wait a second, these women, they don't want to wear the guys' hand-me-downs anymore. They don't want to try shooting a bow that's too big for them, and all those lines and everything of that goes in order to where I think now manufacturers are well aware that the women our numbers, there's not more women out there than there ever was. We're been kind of like level here with the guys anyways. But I think it's just that now that there's so many more out there and they're just promoting it more. And I think more women are realizing that there's plenty of opportunities for them to go out and try it.
Talking about, the manufacturers, I know Sitka Gear this winter came out with a woman's line, and most of that because of the success of Proas. I know there was She Apparel. I don't know where they are at the number of women companies, but if there's money to be made, they're gonna switch up, and the ladies have really done a great job of representing the lifestyle, I think.
I agree. I think, there's some out there that are definitely, it's become a family lifestyle now. It's not just a guy thing.
Well,
It's
when we
family.
first started filming in the videos, and then it led to DVDs, there were no couples. And then
No.
when we started the show, when we started Archer's Choice, there were no couples on TV, and we took a little bit of slack because the guys were like, "Hey, man, don't get Vicky involved. This is more of a guy's thing." But the reality of it was, we did know, we talked about it forever, and that was if mom hunts and understands what hunting's all about, it's going to be easier for the kids to follow because mom's with the kids more than dad is in most family situations. And so when we started it, we never imagined that what would happen, and boy did it. Wow. I think you know like anything, it's our market right now is oversaturated for sure. People think that our hunting industry is so much bigger than it really is. It's a small organization. I shouldn't say organization. It's a small fraternity of people that love and live the outdoors. And for most, it's not just about the kill, or it's not about signing an autograph. It's about really understanding, for the true reasons of getting outside. And for us, we go. When we're climbing a mountain, you get on top, and all of a sudden you're, and it doesn't have to be a mountain, but you're at the highest of high. This is how we get our. I think we refuel our fuel tanks, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It's how we kind of rejuvenate ourselves.
Yep. And I think that's how most people who really cherish and love the outdoors, and live the lifestyle of of hunting, and respecting the not only the habitat but the wildlife itself. And I mean, that's how we refuel.
And folks, if you go to their website, and they'll give you all their URLs in a second. Here's what Ralph says: it doesn't matter the size of the animal, but rather the adventure, the memories, and whom you share it with. So one, we have the adventure, and everybody likes adventure. I don't care if you're a surfer, a skier, or a golfer. You know, that adventure, that experience you share with others creates the memories, and it's a relationship that we carry forth. I've got a relationship with a guy for 51 years. We've been hunting whitetails on the same farm.
Cool.
Very cool.
I mean, you think about that, people look at you, really? Yeah, the same guy. And he invited me to the family farm. I was from New York, going to school in Wisconsin and college in Wisconsin. And he said, you can't go home for Thanksgiving. Why don't you come with me and go deer hunting? I'm going, okay, what's that all about? It was downhill from there.
That's so cool, though.
But that's what it's about, and that's what we're talking about, and spending a lot of time, folks, because it's up to every single one of us to, promote the lifestyle, share the lifestyle with kids and old people and young people, and all nationalities, and it's up to us. And if you want to flam on or rant on social media, don't do it in our backyard, because that isn't what we are. And I heard guy told me a long time ago, Ralph and Vicki, he just simply said, around the campfire, we're all equal.
You're right. Absolutely. It's a great one.
And I take that to heart because, I've been fooling myself, came out of corporate America and did pretty well, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized some years ago, I was hunting with a group of guys and having a great time. And at the end of the hunt, I stood up and I said, I want to thank each guy here and the guys home we were in and stuff. And I said, I recaptured the joy of the hunt. It wasn't a competition anymore. And realize, very well, sometimes the pressure of getting the film and getting your B-rolls and doing all that, it's a job, and there is competition. Coming out of corporate America, my whole life was competition. But I made hunting for a long time a competition against myself and maybe against some of my buddies because, oh man, he did this, or when I'm fly fishing, oh, he just caught a bigger rainbow than I did, or whatever. And I had to get over that. I had to get over myself. And that's a true story. But once I did that, I enjoy it so much more, so much more. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, no matter what we do in our lives, you're competitive. And I think that's Vicki and I have always been competitive to each other. And it's funny because, it's not about the size of the animal, like we said. It's about the adventure, and it's about the camaraderie. And it's about, sharing it with the people that you love and you cherish. And I mean, at the end of this journey that we're all on, it's not going to be what the score of the antlers were at all. It's going to be those last fleeting moments that we can turn around and just take a deep breath and remember all of what we've experienced and smile and then go meet our maker. That's what life's all about.
Yeah, well said. Because I know, you've been every place I think on planet Earth, but just think of the sunrises in Africa or the sunsets in the Alaskan range or the Brook Range,
Yep.
And you capture that forever. I was just talking to a guy out in Idaho about Steve Speck about this. And we were talking about elk hunting and getting whitetail hunters out there and get them prepped and how do you do that. And we just shared, he was sharing about the bulls are bugling at midnight, and you're right there. They're close to you, and you're going, "Shut up, because in 4 hours I want to come hunt your butt. Leave me alone." And it's just crazy, but those are the memories you remember,
Yep.
in the frosty mornings and, the geese web feet down. I mean, you guys have got more stories than I'll ever have, but I think about that. And those are the memories,
Yep.
Absolutely.
and they're
It's every little
priceless.
sound.
And they're just priceless. So let's share a couple of little stories right now. Let's mix it up a little bit. You want to start with the bear story or the turkey story?
Which one you want to talk about?
Well, it's springtime, so it's both. They cover both well.
They do actually, and they both happened last spring with our son RJ.
Yep.
So one of our favorite things to do, though, is honestly, like when we talk about, like someone says, "Oh, what's your favorite hunt?" Honestly, our favorite hunts are the ones that we're involved with our son RJ. He is now 16 years old and driving, so that's kind of a scary thought process.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, he's a good kid, and he's a big kid. He's almost 6'2". He's a big, tall, athletic kid. But anyways, last spring we were down in Florida. We were hunting Osceola turkeys, and I got set up on my turkey really easily. Ralph got up on his really easily, and RJ was having a hard time. And Hoppy, he said, I have an idea, but you got to be willing just to stay still for about 3 hours or so.
Well, no, it wasn't that long. I think they were anticipating it to be a lot sooner, and it ended up not being that.
We'll go on because I wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
Remember, because there wasn't enough spots for me in the open field.
Well, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And what we did is we watched these. We roosted these birds the night before, and the problem was they were flying out to a cattle pasture, and they weren't getting close to the cypress heads or any of the palmetto brush. So we ended up having the idea of laying RJ out in the middle of an overpastured field. I mean, nothing. And we laid some brush over him and Hoppy, and we figured, well, because the birds were coming back to roost, for the evening, we figured hopefully they're gonna do the same thing they've done for the past few days. Well, we got out there and we figured it'd probably be about an hour. Well, it sort of took a lot longer, and they sat there baking in the sun with no cover whatsoever. And then fire ants. They got into fire ants and they couldn't move because birds started to come in their way, and
they're trying to slowly move just enough to make the ants stop biting them.
So at the end of it, over 3 hours laying prone, RJ shot his bird at like 8 or 10 steps.
Oh my goodness!
It was really cool.
Oh, did you film that?
Oh yeah. Pretty much everything we do is on camera just because it's what we do.
Amazing. And let's segue just a little bit because we touched on in the beginning. There's so many people that want to get their name made or their face made with the cameras, and talk about how it was when you guys started out 16 years ago, how heavy the gear was, and what the deal you had to go through just to get 30 minutes.
Well, let's go back when we first started, and I started in 1985. And then in the 80s, we had 3/4-inch camera with about a 1-inch caliper or diameter cable that went to the deck. So the camera, the cable, and the deck you had about close to about 60 pounds. And I mean, in the 80s, we were filming everything. We were doing the wilderness back then, just like we are now, and there weren't hardly anybody doing that. I mean, there was only a handful. And Mark and Terry Jury, Will Primos, Real Tree, we all started, in and around the same time. And we were very fortunate to be in a place, in this situation. But, I mean, you talk about equipment changing from having 50 to 60 to 70 pounds of camera gear to going down now to a lot of people are filming on DSLRs. And by the time you look at their whole backpack, it doesn't even weigh, 12 pounds. So things have really, really changed. And honestly, the smaller camera gear with the better light gathering ability, stability, stabilization built in, has really allowed to get better footage. And in that, the cost of things came down, and it made other people just think, hey, we could do this. So we had an influx of people doing outdoor television. And what's happening, and it's been happening for the last year and a half to 2 years, is the dollars aren't there. So again, you're going to see more and more shows go to the wayside, because honestly, the fact of the matter is, the majority of outdoor television shows are not making any money. That's the truth.
Yet every single day, and it's just like the podcasting, every single day there's a new podcaster in the outdoors. Mark Kenyon, Wired to Hunt, is probably one of the best ones. Big Buck Registry, Jay Scott out in Maine is excellent. Jay Scott Outdoors out of Arizona and the Rockies, just amazing guys. But there's a lot of people, and I'm included, I do a good job at what I do, but every day somebody else is popping up and saying, hey, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And the whitetail industry, there's 11 million people that hunt whitetails. So
Yep.
It's a big thing, and it's just interesting, because this is a labor love, this is a passion. But at the end of the day, I got some tags to buy, and I had a conversation with a guy today. He says, "Well, Bruce, I'm not going to fund your deer hunt to Saskatchewan just because you got a podcast. It's a business," and that's the point I want to make to everybody that's listening to the show. If you take a look at the outdoor industry, it is a business, and the business is hard.
It is.
There's no easy. So spend a couple minutes talking about the business end of what you guys do.
Well, I think everybody thinks it's just all about the hunt, right, Vic?
Yeah, I mean, I think people just think that we go out, all we do is hunt, and that's it. We don't have like an office. We actually, we're owners of Archer's Choice Media, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
We have employees.
Yeah, we have some employees that are full time here that we got to make sure that we can pay their salaries. It's not just going out and hunting. If we just had to go out and hunt, it would be amazing. But there's a lot more to it. There's production. They're making sure that we have everything that we need for the television. It's
you have to communicate with manufacturers on a daily to weekly basis.
Got to make sure the guys in the office are producing what needs to be produced. And now it's not even just the television show or the DVDs. Now you have the social media aspect of it, that manufacturers want you to be, we're not complaining by any means. Don't take it as a gripe whatsoever. But it's not that we don't just get to go out and hunt. It's not that easy.
And some people, all they see is what they see on TV, and they think it's, wow, I can do that. Some people, can do that because you can buy the cameras, you can get all you need. You get a double set, hang-ons, and you sit in your tree and the deer walks by, or it doesn't. And people don't realize how many hours does it take to get a kill shot on video.
It really depends on what we're hunting, I guess, because whitetails, we definitely spend a lot more time out in the field filming than we would, say, I don't know, like a turkey hunt or maybe a spring bear hunt.
I don't think you can put a number on that. I mean, good example, you go on a hunt and you're in for the first morning sit, and an animal walks by, you shoot it.
Right.
Well, then you've got a couple days of trying to tell the story.
Trying to build a story. I mean, on average, we used to go, and when we would come back on a trip, when we were still filming on tapes, so the tapes were like 45 to 60 minutes long, and we had to come back with like 15 to 20. We had like 15 to 20 hours to make a half-hour show.
Yep, to make 22 minutes.
Yeah, is what we used to try to get. Yeah, it was kind of crazy,
And I think, when we first started to now, production has changed.
It has.
Back then, when we were selling videos and DVDs, the first question at hand was, how many kills? How many kills? Today, it's not just about the kill.
No, they want more story.
They want the storyline.
Information, maybe to learn something from it as well. And honestly, back in the day, too, like Ralph just said, where it used to be, how many kills are on the DVD? Oh, okay. Well, now I think a big part of even the videos, but definitely the TV as well, that I think it can actually hurt us somewhat, because what happens is every time you watch a television show, there's a tag filled. But it doesn't mean that every time we go out in the woods that we fill a tag. So that's one of the things I think that you and I really strive to kind of let people understand, or try to make people understand, is that every time we go out, we don't fill a tag.
Well, I think we were one of the first ones ever on television to air a show that didn't shoot some. Remember that?
Right,
And I mean,
Alaska.
nobody, everyone was afraid to do it, and we did it. And we actually had a tremendous amount of feedback. I mean,
Right.
thousands of people, emailed us and said, "We can't believe you did that," and because it was real. See, real hunters know what real hunting's all about, and it's just we have new people coming in that have not experienced that, and when they start to, they will see that it's not a video game. It's not something's coming around the corner every time you want to play.
It doesn't mean you're going to have instant gratification
No.
of cutting that tag. There's time and energy spent out there. And honestly, I think sometimes the TV shows, we can actually hurt the new hunters getting into it because they
Make it look easy.
We make it look easy, and then all of a sudden, that first year they go out, they don't get anything. Maybe they only saw a deer or something, and they're thinking, well, they're no good at this, so I'm just going to give it up, and that doesn't help our numbers. And the best thing that we can do for what we love to do in our lifestyle is to continue to grow the numbers for this lifestyle
and keep it real.
Yeah, well said. I wish I could get this on CNN or whatever, because really you just talked to the heart of the matter. We want everything now. The video games, all we do is, I missed them, so I'll reset. I mean, there's hunting video games. I mean, so you just reset.
Right.
And and once you figure it out, the algorithms of the computer, then it doesn't become a challenge anymore. But to sit during the rut for 5 days in a row from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 12 hours in a ladder stand, you learn a lot about yourself. I guess, I'll throw that in. And how do you capture that? Because, who's going to watch me sitting in Buffalo County along the Buffalo River and sit there all day and not see Mr. Wonderful? Yeah, deer come through, but you never see it. But to be able to do that and to share that, sometimes a lot of people don't understand that. Your thoughts on that?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, Vicki and I agree that we need to show it for what it really is. Here's a really good one. When you look at television right now and you see some of the more popular shows, and I'm not talking about on the outdoor networks. I'm talking about like on History or Nat Geo and all of these. They're actually showing hunting, but they're showing all of the stuff that leads up to the hunt or what the hunt is needed for, and that is to put food on the table. You know what I mean? And people, it's funny that those people who are not hunters gravitate to that because it touches their sense of being that person or those individuals that would have that could, or they think they could, rough it. And it, that in that for those 30 minutes, it puts them there and they're just like, oh, this is so cool. But when they're faced with it, they don't know how to handle it or anything. So they live vicariously through that one show that they're watching or they're following. And if we continue to portray hunting as an egotistical ride for some of the morons that are out there, we're in trouble. But if we turn around and we show it for what it truly is and what it means to the majority of the people that grab a bow or grab a gun and go out in the field and really want to experience the whole thing, is we'll never have to worry about anybody taking this away. As long as we truly portray, or not portray it, but show it for the lifestyle that it is. You see, because there's people out there that, I mean, let's put it for what it is. There's guys and girls that after work, they go out and they hang at a bar. That's their sense of whatever it is that makes them happy. But when you find the people that really live the lifestyle of the outdoors, they might go have a drink here and there, but they go into the woods, they go into the mountains, they go into the valleys to get that adrenaline rush, to get that fulfillment in their souls. And that is what we need to show and try to let people understand. And that's what Vicki and I have been about since the 80s is just, man, go out there. And I mean, who on this globe has more authority to say that we're doing the right thing than if you read the Bible and God tells us to be stewards of his land and his animals? if God's telling us that's what we need to do, then oh my gosh, we're not questioning it. We know that we're doing the right thing.
I don't know the chapter and verse, but there is a the thing, take up your bow and go
Yep.
hunt.
Your
That's
quiver.
that's a Bruce paraphrase. Please don't jump on me for saying that, listeners. But that's a paraphrase. But that is in the Bible.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Isn't that something? Hey, let's share one thing, and I want to bring this up because sometimes we don't pay attention to what our body's telling us about. And a couple of years ago, Ralph had a situation, so let's just talk about that. And thank goodness, you're still hanging with us and still doing what you love to do, and still being the great guy for Vicki. But let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, a little crazy. I had we were actually having a photo shoot, and the one morning we were taking pictures for manufacturers, and I wasn't feeling good. I actually felt like just some pressure on my chest, and we got through the shoot, and Vicki said, you all right? And I remember sitting like on the bumper, and I said, I just don't feel good. I said, I think I'm going to go lay down, and went and laid down, and I guess
you kind of thought it was heartburn because the night
Yeah.
before you had some sriracha sauce on your
Yeah.
Subway sandwich.
and so I was like, okay, so I went and laid down for a while, right?
And then you got up, but you're pretty stubborn at it too. So you're not going to act
So
like you're
small.
not bullheaded or anything like that. But so I said, if you're not feeling well, honey, we should probably go to the doctor. Or we should go to the emergency room. No, I'm fine. Well, then it was about fine. And you checked your blood pressure, and it was a little high.
And you went to mom's and
Yeah,
got
I went
the
to
pressure.
your mom's
Yep.
and grabbed the blood pressure cuff, and it was pretty high. And I'm like, so then work ends at 5:00, and I go, how are you feeling? And he's like, well, I'm still feeling kind of a tightness. And I'm like, get in the car. I said, just get in my truck.
she
We're
threatened
going.
me.
And he goes, no, Vic, we'll wait till the morning. I said, are you kidding me? I said, get in my truck, or you can get in an ambulance. It's your choice. You don't have an option here, which I can get kind of feisty sometimes when I need to, which was a really
yes,
good
you
thing.
can.
But it was a good thing that I did because I got him to the hospital, and like we said, he's thinking, it might be heartburn, whatever, and he's not feeling well, but his blood pressure's kind of high. So we get him in, and they do some tests, they did some blood work and stuff like that, but his EKG and everything was absolutely fine. But the blood work came back with just a little bit of an enzyme that the emergency room doctor was like, here's the deal. You're in the gray zone with this enzyme, but the problem is the enzyme is actually caused and put into your bloodstream by your heart when your heart is under stress. He said, because we live in a small town, mind you, because we don't have a cardiac unit here after 6 p.m. and on weekends, well, you're going to get an ambulance ride into Rockford.
No.
So So I asked, I said, can't I just drive him to Rockford? And he goes, do you have a cardiac unit in your car? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, then no, he can't. He goes, he can take the choice of trying to stay here because this was a Friday night. He said he can take the chance of staying here and waiting for our cardiac unit to come back on Monday. He goes, but if something happens between now and then he's going to have a helicopter ride instead.
I was like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, I hike mountains for a living. There's nothing wrong with me. But lo and behold, he came back and found out that.
On Monday they did the angiogram,
yep.
And that he actually had his LAD, which is the widowmaker, was 90% or 95% blocked. So they put two stents in, and now here's the deal: is that what we've learned from this point was that his EKG was fine. His cholesterol numbers are actually normal; they're not elevated whatsoever. But the problem is it's heart disease, and heart disease runs in the family.
Didn't know that.
And we didn't realize that. And the thing is that the doctor said it runs in your family. He asked us, and we're like, well, I don't know. So we talked to his mom, and we start finding out that more and more people within the family has heart disease. And even though his EKG was fine and his cholesterol numbers were fine, he actually has to have a lower cholesterol number because of the genetics that he has in him. So the good thing is we did catch it, which was amazing. And, honestly, right afterwards, when you were still in the hospital after the stents, you had taken a photo of yourself and you had written a blog. Then we had put it up on our website.
Yep.
In fact, I had just reposted it last week just because it was this 2-year.
It was crazy.
It was 2-year anniversary of his cardiac episode. And thankfully, his heart is 100%. There was no damage whatsoever to his heart. We caught it in time, thank God.
And she's been telling me for 24 years I didn't have a heart.
Well, I'm still... I kind of wonder still sometimes, but still, you know what? And by putting that out there, and we had a lot of people comment back, and we even had quite a few people come up and tell us that they actually went to the emergency room after they read this blog, and that, I mean, some of them it was just heartburn, and they have to start taking.
There were a few that actually had blockage that they didn't know.
Yeah.
And had stents put in just from reading what we wrote, and wow, who'd ever thought that?
Yeah, who would have thought that? And so, hey, props to you, Vicki, for putting the hammer down. And you don't have a choice, cowboy.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah, the thing is that it's one of the, you just know, when you could look at him, and and here's the other thing is the fall before, because this was in the springtime, he was eating Tums left and right thinking he had heartburn. Well, it's not something to mess around with, and even if you do think it is just heartburn, go and get it checked out. It doesn't, I would much rather pay an expensive emergency room bill for them to tell me I need to eat Tums
than a funeral.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of take it lightheartedly right now. It wasn't at the moment when we were going through this by any means, but you know what? It was a matter of taking him to the doctor, and we, kudos to the emergency room doctor there that sent him into a bigger facility, into a bigger hospital, so that we could get it taken care of.
Well, a lot of things happen in our life for reasons that we don't know when it's happening, but then here you are a couple of years later and we're talking about it. So listeners, just underscore this: if your body's telling you something ain't working right, just go check it out, because you owe it to your family, you owe it to your wife, you owe it to your family and your friends just to do it. That's my 2 cents.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
Same here.
Okay, let's switch it up and let's finish the show up with some lessons learned. We get about 10 minutes or so, and let's talk about the 3 to 5 things about hunting whitetails that they're your go-to things if you want to hunt mature bucks. What you guys do.
All right, let's be clear about one thing, and that is, when don't judge your hunting success on photos that you see in ads, TV shows that you see, or you go on YouTube stuff and see that, because there are areas that you may not have the availability of, putting down 150 to 170 inch buck.
Right.
I mean, it just,
the average bow hunter is not going to see a Pope and young deer from a tree stand, which is 125.
Yeah. I mean, so first off, we would tell everybody to change your attitude. Don't put the pressure on you, because the more pressure that you put on yourself, the worse everything's going to be. And honestly, the more you're going to hate it. So keep a good attitude and understand that if you're hunting an area that let's say you have only 2 acres of woods, because let's face it, a whole lot of people don't have 1,000 acres or even more, or a couple hundred to hunt and control the pressure. So if you just have a small area and you cannot control the pressure on the exterior, we're here to tell you to either go talk to all your neighbors and try to have everybody on the same page, and try to do your quality deer management, because it will work if you can control a lot of the pressure on the exterior. If you can't, and that's all that you have, we're gonna shock everybody. Go out and have a great time. And I'm telling you, that's it. Hunt for the reason, for certain reasons, but more than anything, go out and just experience it and have a great time, because you probably will never have the opportunity at a big old mature buck, just because you can't control the pressure. And that's one of the biggest things I'm telling you is, if you, here's a good one, and you've seen it, you put your trail cameras out, and all of a sudden, night photos of a buck that you have never seen, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's in the area. Well, all you do is you got the pictures and you show everybody. First off, don't show everybody.
I don't know where that photo was from.
That's
I have no idea.
Keep those to yourself, unless you're hunting with a couple buddies, or your family members, and you set a goal up to try to do it. Well, using your trail cameras, people don't use them correctly. They put them out and they just try to take an inventory of what's going on. Well, all of a sudden, if you're getting a mature buck, and he's always coming from the north and heading south or east or west or whatever in your photos, then turn around and start moving your camera further down from where he's coming from. What you're doing is you're using the camera to finally pinpoint what this deer is doing. That's where the camera will come in and pay, huge dividends, because now you can find out where that deer is bedding or coming from in and or under actual, legal hunting hours. Instead of just keeping that camera stationary, there's, keep moving it and keep following it and try to move, try to understand and study the patterns. So your attitude, I think trail cameras. The other thing is if you have access to not walking into an area, but getting to a vantage point and glassing it. And today, what we didn't have years ago, we didn't have satellite imagery.
Right.
You couldn't
right.
go
you
online.
You can go to Google Earth and look at the photos and figure out exactly what kind of terrain you're looking at. And, by being able to go on and looking at satellite photos of the areas that you're hunting nowadays, you can go in there and you can see pinch points and you can see where, the thickets where you're thinking that maybe that's where they're bedding, and you can set up your cameras for that point and you can figure out their closest access to their food, because all hunting, you're going to be successful if you can figure out food, cover, and water. So if you know where they're drinking and where they're eating and where their cover is, where they're going to bed, you can be successful. And by using like a satellite photo, it's just going to help you figure out and plot out exactly where you need to be and maybe even where to put the cameras up at.
Now let's touch on what Vicki just said. 3 things. 3 of the most important things. It's not your camouflage. It's not your calls. It's not your scent. It's food, cover, and water. Period. If you can find those things anywhere on this globe, you can successfully hunt any animal, because that's the things that allow these animals to live and survive. If you can find out where they're bedding at any given time, what they're eating at any given time, and where they're drinking at any given time, and you put that according to the seasons that you're hunting them and the times of the year, because some things will change. You have a heavy winter, the deer are going to bed somewhere else. All of these where are they going to eat? Where are they going to drink? So many variables. But if you just focus on becoming a better woodsman and understanding food, cover, and water, Vicki and I are here to tell you, you will be way more successful than you ever thought, rather than reading articles on how to do it and never doing it yourself.
Yeah, well said. And simply, if you ever elk hunt, elk need food, cover, and water. Hunt antelope, well, they're out in the prairie, but they need food, and they do need cover, and they do need water. You can hunt antelope, and you can never see them, but one time a day they're going to come in the stock tank, and they're going to water.
Exactly. Bears are the same way. Moose are the same. Whatever it is you're hunting, food, cover, and water, you're going to be successful if you can figure that out.
That's it.
Why do we make it so hard?
Because that's our nature. We always we overanalyze everything, and what's crazy is that's what we do as human beings. We always think that the grass is greener on the other side. Well, if you think the grass is greener on the other side of someone else's property, then make yours better. Create better habitat. If you don't have a water source on your property, create a water source. If you don't have a food source, and maybe you can't, maybe you don't own the property and the landowner doesn't want you to put a food source, well, then find out where that food source is and intercept them in the route going to or coming from. I think one of the biggest problems we as deer hunters, we get lazy. And, we say, well, if I could drive my 4-wheeler and then I only have to walk 100 yards. Well, the problem is if we don't understand the movement of or the pattern of those game, if even though we're driving in and they're used to it, we used to think that, we need to be quiet. You remember? The electric buggy and all that stuff. And then, we thought that was the ticket. And then all of a sudden, as you start to, know farmers, and you watch a farmer drive a noisy diesel pickup truck through his timber, and the deer don't even get up off their beds. You want to know why? Because they got acclimated to his sounds. They heard those sounds, and they became familiar with it and not threatened with it. So believe it or not, if you can turn around and you can travel in your area consistently, not just the day of opening season, but as much as you possibly can, these animals will get acclimated, because at most of the year they're not being threatened by those noises. So then when all of a sudden they hear it on a regular basis, they become accustomed to it. There are things. Here's a really good one. You're hunting a farm on a pig farm or a cattle farm. What is the best scent you can possibly use to cover your scent? Well, the pig or the cow stuff, right?
when we first started dating and he took me out deer hunting.
Now remember, this is in the 80s.
He took a bucket of water and he stuck cow pies in it.
Dry cow pies.
Swished it around and stuck it in a bottle and sprayed me down with that stuff. Nasty.
You must have loved him then.
Yeah, right. There must have been something wrong with me then, like there is now.
But you never had the game wind in you.
No, but I smelled like crap.
It's all right. I'll smell like crap and shoot stuff.
Oh man. But folks, common sense really goes a long way. And marketing dollars by the gazillion are after us every single second of the day.
Yes.
Read a magazine, get on social media, watch a TV hunting show, whatever. I mean, they want our money, and they know what it takes. They spend gazillions of dollars figuring out what our emotions will kick in and say, I got to have that, because that's going to make the difference between me putting a buck down or not, or whatever. And so many times, if we just go back, I remember reading stories about the Benoit brothers up in Maine. Checkered wool, they get on a track, they take the track to the end, deer was there, they loop left or right, depending on where the deer was going, and they shoot the deer more times than not. That was it.
Yep.
That was their whole hunt, and they got books. I mean, how they did it. They stayed to task, they figured out the behaviors of their quarry, and they outthought them, because deer will spin on you just like elk. They'll circle you, and they'll bet on you, and they'll watch the backtrack. They'll do all those type of things. But if you don't have the woodsmanship, and Ralph, that's a wonderful thing you said, because today we're not woodsmen.
No.
On the general, I'm making a general statement. Today, people have lost the ability to be woodcraft.
Yep, and I was raised. I mean, when you go out there, you really pay attention to all your surroundings. And I think this goes back, since we're almost at the end here. Here is something that years ago, I outfitted for my elk, my bears, my deer, and everything. And I used to have a 1 week only ladies hunt for deer in Wisconsin. And that week I'd have a bunch of ladies in camp. It was before I knew Vicki, so it was really awesome. But
nice.
Yeah, be careful.
No, yeah, I'm teasing her. But what I witnessed back then. Now this is years and years ago. I'd have all the guys in, and they'd all want to hunt the rut and all this. And the girls, when the ladies only week came up, the girls would come back from the stands, and I'd say, well, and the guys, well, what'd you see? And they'd be like, I saw 6 deer up on the ridge. I saw a little buck up, further. I think that was to the east. And then I saw some birds, and I saw some squirrels. I saw a turkey, and I had a spider come down. I killed him, and we sat there, and all of us are sitting and listening, and we're hearing that all of the women sat there patiently, and they absorbed everything. They were part of the woods. The guys would say, well, I didn't see a shooter. I said, well, did you see any other deer? Yeah, but none of them were a shooter. And I'm thinking, and that's probably why we're back here, and women and more women are participating. One, because of what Vicki and a lot of the other girls have done, you know what I mean? Tiffany, Candy, I mean, what they've done in promoting the women, to hunting. But also is they hunt for the right reasons. They get out there, they're more patient, they're definitely quieter, and they absorb the surroundings. So, I mean, all we would tell everybody is, yes, there are a lot of things out there that, that will help you. But truly, the biggest advice that we could give anybody is hunt for all the right reasons.
Yeah, and I'm being quiet because that's going to be the title of your show.
No, cool. See that?
Hunt for all the right reasons.
Yeah, that's it. And with saying that, why don't you take a minute or two, because we're burning daylight on an hour. So why don't you give a shout out for a couple of minutes to your sponsors or family, friends, and then we're going to wrap the show.
All right. So one of the great things about with everything that we have going on and all of our social media and everything, we have Archer's Choice, which has been on the Outdoor Channel now for 17 years, and the Choice is for 12 years now on the Outdoor Channel. But if anyone wants to follow us, reach out to us, or anything like that, you can reach us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, just about anywhere you can imagine. And the easiest way to get it is Ralph and Vicki, RalphandVicki. That's all of our social media. It's all at Ralph and Vicki.
And we'll answer you.
Right. And then our website is archerschoice.com, which is really easy to find as well. So, I mean, we have all kinds of things on there. We have blogs that we're trying to get updated more often, which is not being very... Ralph needs to write more. He's just not writing very much.
It's my fault.
He really needs to start writing more. But we have other things going on there. We actually have our Lucky Logo page on there, and we have a whole bunch of other updates and things going on. So it's always a great place to kind of go and check
out. And lots of giveaways.
Lots of giveaways. We have lots of giveaways going on.
Thanks to our manufacturer.
Yeah, thanks to, I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff going on, but we want to thank you, Bruce, for letting us spend the time chit-chatting with you.
Yeah, this has been fun. So on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, this has been a pure joy, Ralph and Vicki, and thank you for taking your time and, just spending it with us. And yeah, we talked about whitetail hunting, but we talked about our lifestyle and our passions and how, we're all on common ground.
Absolutely.
And the beauty that we've been given, and we are stewards. So with that, folks, thank you so much.
God bless you all.
God bless you.
On the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, we're going to meet with Jason and Zach. Now, Jason and Zach have formed Buck Ops. What is Buck Ops all about? Well, in just a couple of words, Buck Ops will tell you that they are the men that want to make a difference in the lives of others. How are they going to do that? Well, they're going to take and bond under combat outreach programs. Now, they've both been in the military. They've both seen what happens when men get out, women get out, and they don't have any support groups. Well, they're creating support groups all over the south part of our country. And if you've been to any National Wild Turkey Federation exposés or banquets, you've probably seen them there. These guys bring it, and they bring it with a passion. So sit back, relax, and listen to Buck Ops.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.